あれ、なぜだ、どうして涙が、なぜ。
The Warrior Princess and the Barbaric King, I definitely don't want to use the over-glazy term of can do no wrong, but we are 3 episodes in, and the feeling that I had on episode 1 of just being like, this is unique, I'm taken aback, this is cool, it still stands true today in a much different form. So we have Saraphina, who's getting used to being in the barbarian lands, and trying to come to grips with understanding their way of life. The reality is they are barbarians, but they're not like, how do you say it? They're not cavemen, okay? Like, they're not like barbarians, like, you know, they live with sticks and stones. They have a village, they have a large city, they have a system, they have wives, they have children. There's like a system there. It's a little bit more archaic than where Saraphina's from, but not so much far removed. She just had more nobility, and there's class, like a class system and stuff. Some of that still exists, but not in the same fashion as barbarians. You know, they unfortunately, you know, their way of life is fighting off dragons and boars and hunting, and it's just a little more villagey, essentially. But she's coming to grips and finding that these people aren't these, and I guess I just have to use the word, but they look at them as barbarians. They look at them like, you know, like forest people. Like, they look at them like barbaric ways, but they're not that. And she's coming to grips with it, and she's finding out that the women in the village, you know, they understand that they're men, prioritize fighting, and they prioritize, you know, being strong, and they prioritize being providers for their family. And that comes with the understanding that, you know, if they go off to battle and they have to go and hunt, that there's a chance that they can be injured or may not come back. There's a chance that if they have to go and defend their borders, that they may not come back from that. And she's struggling to understand because, you know, from where she's at, the biggest thing you can do is survive. And, you know, wars are you try to avoid them, and, you know, kind of, you know, but she just kind of can't come to grips with a little more modern way of thinking, and she has to kind of take 2 steps back. So it's a really cool lesson for her, for us to be able to kind of go on that journey, as she's kind of viewing it as like, well, these are the people that I thought, but their ways are very different, but they make sense, you know. And she's struggling to find out, like, hey, you know, the men in his cavalry, the men in his army wanted to spar with her, and she couldn't understand, like, why don't you want to kill me? Like, why don't you want to get revenge for, you know, maybe I killed one of your buddies or your brother or your grandfather, your father. And, you know, they all understand, like, these are the risks that you take when you go to war. These are the risks that you take when you go to battle. Like, we don't hold a grudge because we're fighting against the enemy. The enemy's fighting because they believe that's right. We're fighting because we believe it's right, and one of us has to win. But we're not going to go seek revenge because you didn't. How do you, I guess, what's the best way to say it? It's like, it's not like it was a planned murder, right? Like, it's not like some guy, you know, his brother was killed, but it was like a planned out murder out of malice. This was a war where they've never met the guy. They never met the girl before. They never met the person before. And it's a do or die situation. And they all kind of understand that. And they're like, well, you know, we want to spar you because you had a lot of skills and stuff. So she's just coming to grips with all that, which I find really funny. Or not funny, I should say. I find really interesting. What I find funny is Vior, because he keeps giving Saraphina crap about how much she enjoyed him being barefaced and how attracted she was to him. And I thought that was really funny as well in the episode. And then the episode ends with a dragon, like a chicken dragon attack, and Saraphina goes to defend 𝐒𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 and some of the other girls that she just met. and she does a kick-ass job. And Vior ends up going to go save her. And I love that, you know, when she realized like, okay, I only have my hands left. This might be it for me. She was saved by Vior. But the cooler thing was, I think in that moment, she felt like less of a warrior, more of a woman. You know what I mean? Like she was defended by this brawly man as she should be. And she, you know, cried and she wasn't really sure why. And she is a warrior at heart, but she's also a woman. You know what I mean? And there's like how do you say it? Like not to sound sexist or something, like, 'cause that's not the intent. The intent is like, you know, a man's job is to, you know, defend their woman. You know what I mean? Kind of at the end of it. And he's fulfilling that role. And I think for the first time, she's feeling like she could be protected. I feel like she's feeling like this could have been it for her. And it's all those feelings kind of jumbled up into one. And for the first time, she's the damsel and not the rescuer. You know, if that makes sense. At least that's the feeling that I got. So I really like that scene as well, too, because, you know, he grabbed her in his arms and she was still crying. And it was just super cute. So I think this episode was I don't want to overglaze it. You know, I think it was a 7 out of 10. I don't think it was like it's not gonna win any awards or anything. But my enjoyability is like an 8 or a 9 for sure. But I think it was a 7 on paper because it's not like doing anything crazy. So 7 out of 10 is where I land on it. But don't get it twisted. Like I'm having a really good time watching it. And I think it's a really good show. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, my friends. I'll see you guys next week for the next episode of The Warrior and the Barbaric King. Peace.